the stunning news from Saturday night. 29-year-old Colts quarterback Andrew Luck deciding to suddenly retire just weeks before the start of the regular season. He was in a surreal scene, standing on the sideline during a preseason game at home when Shefty broke the news. After the game, an emotional Luck explained his decision.
This is not an easy decision. Honestly, it's the hardest decision of my life. But it is the right decision for me. For the last 4 years or so, I've been in this cycle of injury, pain, rehab, injury, pain, rehab. And it's been unceasing and unrelenting, both in season, and off season. And I felt stuck in it, and the only way I see out is to no longer play football. It's taken my joy of this game away, and this. Sorry.
Now you can see in his face how difficult this is for him. I want to point out the numbers you're looking at on your screen right now have changed even this morning. The Colts' odds to win the conference shifting from 7-1 to 22-1. Their odds to win the Pro Football Championship going from 15-1 to 45-1. Indy hasn't won the conference since 2009. Jim Caldwell was the coach then, and Peyton Manning was the center then. And we've had a lot of reaction to this morning, and it'll continue. And I want to bring Keyshawn Johnson into the conversation now, who is with us from Bristol today. Good morning, Keyshawn. I want to ask you the same question I've asked everyone. Just when you first heard this news on Saturday night, it took so many people by surprise. What was the first thing that went through your mind?
Well, you know, I was out to dinner, Greeny, and then I looked at my cell phone once I got back home because I left it home. And I didn't believe it, obviously. I was sitting there going, basically like, wait a minute, with some other choice words in there. And then I had to call a few people to confirm to make sure that I was reading the right thing. And look, at the end of the day, I applaud him for stepping up and realizing that there's other phases to life than just football. And he endured so much over the last 7 years as a professional that I certainly can understand why he would want to walk away and be able to walk away, not be willed away. So hats off to him.
Well, let me ask you this, because I've heard people suggest, and they're using the word waste, that perhaps the Colts wasted great years from this quarterback by not putting a good team around him, particularly not putting a good line in front of him. The irony is they seem to have a great offensive line now, just in time for him to be forced to walk away. Would you agree with that assessment, that Indianapolis wasted the best years of Andrew Luck's career?
No, I would not. I think that you were going from a transition period, obviously, from Peyton Manning, and then you were trying to build a team around him. He got hurt a few times here and there. They were trying their best to address the offensive line. They tried their best to address the skill position, the running back position, the defense. It's a lot that goes into building a football team. It doesn't happen overnight. It wasn't like when Peyton Manning retired that they left a great team out there for Andrew Luck to take over.
That's fair. Again, that was a team that had the first pick in the draft for a reason. And I will come back to Keyshawn in just a minute here, but let me come over to you. What do you make of that? Because he took a beating. And there were very few quarterbacks you've ever seen take the kind of beating that he did. And he's big and strong, and so he managed to play through so much of it.
Absolutely. And you look at some of the quarterbacks that have been taken first overall, and like Keyshawn just said, they're drafted first overall for a reason. You look at a guy like Sam Bradford, beat up early in his career. Matt Stafford, beat up early in his career. Cam Newton, beat up early in his career. And so here's the problem. From 2012 to 2016, he was hit more than any other quarterback in the NFL. The Colts used the second most offensive line combinations, 4.1 times per game. He was hit, and hit hard by big, physical human beings. That takes a toll on your body. It takes a toll on your mind. And more importantly, as you saw him up there at the podium, it takes a toll on your soul, because you just can't get up to that level that you were before.
We say this a lot, and we said this about Andrew Luck. We've said it about Cam Newton. You say it about a running back who gets used a lot early in his career. They're gonna wreck this guy, right? How long is he going to want to put up with this? When we say it, it's usually an abstraction. The next time we say it about a person, we're going to be thinking about that Andrew Luck press conference. That's the manifestation of that worry when we see a guy come into the league and take that kind of abuse early on.
It's really a terrible shame because here we are living in a time where Tom Brady is playing at a very high level at 42. Drew Brees is playing at a high level at 40.
When you talk to people about quarterbacks and planning around quarterback, teams will tell you, oh, look, we can keep them healthy now. That's a big part of it. You project quarterback careers out into the mid-late 30s, sometimes 40. So they can do it because the rules have changed. But that just gets to the heart of how bad and how sort of incompetent the Colts were early in Luck's career in terms of prioritizing and building that offensive line. They took their left tackle, Anthony Costanzo, the year before in the first round. They didn't take another first-round lineman until 2016 when they took Ryan Kelly. In the meantime, it was mix, match, and get the quarterback hit.
Another thing a lot of people are reacting to pretty strongly was the fans booing Luck as he was coming off the field. Again, the scene was surreal. If you weren't paying attention to this, it was Saturday night. They're playing a home preseason game. Shefty breaks the news while the game is going on. And in the day and age in which we live, the fans are getting that news real time. And as Luck is going off the field, the home fans were booing. Some were booing him. Keyshawn Johnson, what was your reaction to that?
I just learned about that this morning in terms of the whole booing. I knew they were booing him, but I didn't understand why. And I learned about it this morning that he was actually, the news that Shefty broke was during the course of the game. So people was, getting their text messages and in social media. I thought that they were booing because the team was playing lousy or something and he was walking off the field. But I would say that that's not cool. It's not good. It's not good sportsmanship from the fan base. But I certainly can understand the fans kind of being somewhat upset because I like to call Andrew Luck a little bit of a teaser if you're a fan because he plays so well, then he gets hurt. He plays so well that we have an opportunity. He comes back. We go to the playoffs. We make a strong run. We think we're all in this year. We're going to fight for the division. We're going to be right there in the AFC Championship game. And then all of a sudden, a bombshell happens, and then we're like stuck. He's retiring. So I could certainly see the disappointment, but the boos are unnecessary.
Yeah, to aim them at Luck, I think, is the issue that people have. It's easy to understand the frustration of the fans. For the first time in Luck's time, many people think they're the best team in the AFC with him. The question is what they are without him. Keyshawn, stay with me. I'm going to come back to you in a minute. But, Dan, let me turn to you for the reporting piece of this. They have Jacoby Brissett. If you're with us in our first hour, you heard Louis Riddick. He is very high on Jacoby Brissett, who has, been there, the number one quarterback through all this preseason and training camp. But one would imagine there are probably moves to be made. What options are there out there for them?
Well, right now the option is going to be Brissett. In terms of acquiring a veteran, I think what would probably happen is they get into the season, and if Brissett doesn't perform well enough and they're still in contention, maybe they look at that. Easier said than done because you got to get somebody who knows the system. There are veterans that could become available for one reason or another. I mean, Eli Manning, right, if Daniel Jones is ready. Andy Dalton, if Ryan Finley were to advance. Those are big ifs, right? Those are down the road. Get somebody like Tyrod Taylor, who's the backup with the Chargers right now. So those are out there. But right now it's Brissett. They have Chad Kelly on the roster, who was a Broncos draft pick that failed there for other reasons. But the last couple of years, they've had 7 second-round picks. I mean, they've had a lot of draft picks. They haven't drafted a quarterback since they drafted Andrew Luck. So no developmental quarterback in the pipeline for the Colts.
It's easy to see why they didn't think they needed to. They've got Luck and they've got Brissett behind him. They probably had the best quarterback situation in the NFL when they woke up Saturday morning.
But a starter that had a lot of health concerns. So
and so here they find themselves. Okay, we'll have more on this as we go. We'll have Matthew Hasselbeck in 20 minutes, who backed up Luck for several years, and they are very close. We'll get his perspective on all of this. Meanwhile, I've got to get you to